You are ready? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. We'll sing this short Vaishnav bhajan for 2 minutes and then we'll begin. Jayo Radha Madhava Jayo Kunja Bihari Jayo Radha Madhava Jayo Kunja Bihari गोपीजनवल्लभा जयो गिरिवरधारी जयो गिरिवरधारी गोपीजनवल्लभा जयो गिरिवरधारी जयो गिरिवरधारी यशोदनन्दना जयो व्रजजनरञ्जना जयो व्रजजनरञ्जना यमुनातिरावनचारी जयो कुञ्ज बिहारी यमुनातिरावनचारी जयो कुञ्ज बिहारी जया राधा माधवा जया कुञ्ज बिहारी Okay. ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः श्रीचैतन्य मनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवंश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान सहगना ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितंश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिय वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे मुखम करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपा तमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानंद माधवम श्री चैतन्य ईश्वरम Okay, this is the last one we discussed. I will repeat just for the sake of continuity. Arjuna said, O master of the senses, the world becomes joyful upon hearing your name, and thus everyone becomes attached to you. Although the perfected beings offer you their respectful homage, the demons are afraid and they flee here and there. All this is rightly done. Um, and we discussed the how the world becomes joyful just by hearing the name of Krishna. And because the name of Krishna makes them feel joyful, their joy that they derive makes everyone attached to him, attached to Krishna. Um, all perfected beings offer their respects to him, but the demons are afraid and they start running here and there because he is Dharma personified. All this is rightly done. So, this is where we are beginning. Um, okay, maybe we can have somebody. We'll keep reciting 4 verses. Anybody
Okay.
can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
O great one, greater even than Brahma, you are the original creator. Why then then should they or not offer their respectful obeisance unto you? O limitless one, God of gods, refugee of the universe, you are the indivisible source, the cause of all causes, transcendental to this material in manifestation.
I remember we discussed this also, and Arjuna is not at all surprised by seeing Brahma offering obeisances, and not only Brahma, all other devatas offering obeisances to Krishna. And he is telling, um, greater even than Brahma, you are the original creator. So why then should they not offer their respectful obeisances to you? I mean, if they offer obeisances to me, yeah, that's a surprise. But if they're offering obeisances to you, there is no surprise. There is nothing great in that because why shouldn't they do that? So this is in a way Arjuna's confidence on Krishna's supremacy. And he's not seeing anything great in their offering obeisances. Um, okay, Arun Prabhu, continue.
Yeah. You are the original personality of Godhead, the oldest, the ultimate sanctuary of this manifested cosmic world. You are the knower of everything, and you are all that is knowable. You are the supreme refuge above the material world. O limitless form, this whole cosmic manifestation is power pervaded by you.
Hmm. You are the original personality of Godhead. Oldest means there is nobody before you. The original, the oldest. Yet Krishna is not, he is the oldest, but he is not old. He is always 16 years old. Yet he is the oldest. Ultimate sanctuary means ultimate shelter for the whole material world. Anyone has any problem, they go to you for help. Um, Knower of everything, and you are all that is knowable. But you are knower of everything. There is nothing that is not known to you. In fact, whatever sufferings we have, problems we have, situations we are in, Krishna knows about it. So, knower of everything, and you are all that is knowable. If somebody knows you, there is no need to know anything else. You are the goal of knowledge, the goal of Gita, the goal of Vedas, the goal of everything. You are all that is knowable. The supreme refuge, everybody takes shelter here and there. We have a tendency, either we take shelter of so many things, but ultimate shelter is Krishna. Above the material modes, um, he's never, he never comes in touch with matter. In a way, he's always transcendental. Everything about Krishna is transcendental. His clothes are spiritual, his rath is spiritual, his devotees are spiritual. Everything that is connected to him is transcendental. The whole cosmic manifestation is pervaded by you. Okay. Next two words on offering obeisances.
Yeah. You are air and you are the supreme controller. You are fire, you are water, and you are the moon. You are Brahma, the first living creature, and you are the great grandfather. I therefore offer my respectful obeisance unto you 1,000 times and again at yet again.
So Arjuna's appreciation. Krishna himself said, "Among creator I am Brahma, among stars I am moon, and everything." In a way, any potency anyone has comes from Krishna, and here we see Arjuna accepting it. You are air, controller, water, moon, Brahma, grandfather. So I offer you thousands of obeisances. Okay.
Ob- Obeisance to you from the front, from behind, and from all sides. O unbounded power, you are the master of limitless might. You are all pervading, and thus you are everything.
Hmm. Sounds like, I mean, obeisances to you from the front, from behind, and from all sides. That's because the universal form is present all 360 degrees around him. It has no beginning, no end, no start point, no end point. So Arjuna doesn't even know how to offer obeisances to such a form. So he is rotating, and from everywhere he's just trying to pay obeisances. Mm. Read one more, Prabhu, last one.
Okay. Thinking of you as my friend, I have rashly addressed you, O Krishna, O Yadava, O my friend, not knowing your glories. Please forgive whatever I may have done in madness or in love. I have dishonored you many times, jesting as we relaxed, lay on the same bed, or sat on it together, sometimes alone and sometimes in the front of many friends. O infavorable one, please excuse me for all those offenses.
Mm. Thinking of you as my friend, I have rashly addressed you. Um, um, Arjuna is begging forgiveness, um, because he is a friend of Krishna and he has a very close relationship with Krishna. And after seeing universal form of Krishna, he was feeling ashamed that he asked Krishna to become his chariot driver, and dealt with him in so many ways, not knowing that he is the original. He has heard it from Devala, Asita, Narada, Vyasa, um, but somehow, um, his feeling of Krishna being a friend was so strong that he was okay with it. He did not pay deep attention to that. But after seeing universal form, he's like, please forgive whatever I have done in madness or in love. I have dishonored you many times, jesting as we relaxed, lay on the same bed, sat or ate together, sometimes alone, sometimes in front of many friends. Please excuse me for all those offenses. Sajana is thinking, I should have not considered you as my friend. I mean, how can you be somebody's friend? He is. But when opulence overcomes, this feeling comes. Although Krishna is supremely opulent, in spiritual world, he is the sweetest personality having loving relationship. That's what makes Krishna supremely attractive, because of his personal relationship, loving exchanges, and sweetness in those exchanges. But when opulence comes, then one becomes afraid. One becomes afraid of opulences. Just like Mother Yashoda, when Krishna opened his mouth, Mother Yashoda saw the entire universe. We discussed this story earlier. And Mother Yashoda was thinking, oh, is he the Supreme Lord? I should put him on the altar and worship him. And Krishna doesn't want that, because um, when worship of Krishna is imbued by a lot of opulence, then that intimacy goes away in the name of that opulence. Of course, we begin worshipping Krishna with opulence only. Our beginning of Krishna consciousness is understanding who Krishna is. And then as we advance, as our devotion matures, then we are not at all attracted to Krishna because of his opulence. In the beginning, understanding the opulence of the Lord. The purpose of Gita is to understand that Krishna is who Krishna is, what are his opulences, Vibhuti, his universal form, how he is the source of everything. That understanding is required, because without this understanding, when we see Krishna with friends and with Nanda Baba and Yashoda Maya and with others, if we don't understand who Krishna is, we may judge him, or we will not be able to understand. So before we move into the advanced study of understanding Krishna's sweetness, it is important to know the Krishna's position, who Krishna is. Krishna, although what really attracts Krishna is the love, is the sweetness, is the intimacy that devotees expresses towards Krishna. But that develops over a period of time. That's why Bhagavad Gita is called the beginning study of God consciousness, Bhagavan, beginning study. Um, but sometimes, especially like Mother Yashoda saw, then Krishna was not comfortable, but Krishna was afraid. Krishna was thinking, if she sees dirt in the mouth, I'm gone. Then he immediately, to escape, he immediately showed universal form. Mother Yashoda saw and she was thinking, oh, who is this boy? He is not my son. He looks like God. So, uh, Krishna's Yoga Maya potency, she fainted. And then when she was thinking all these opulent thoughts, she fainted. And then when she came back to normal, she forgot everything that she saw in Krishna's mouth. And then she thought, Krishna is such a naughty child. He has uncontrolled mind and senses. He goes and steals butter in different homes. He's always hungry for my butter and for my milk. How can he be God? And immediately the sweetness overtook her. Krishna enjoys more, way more, the sweetness of Mother Yashoda's love as treating Krishna as her child than treating Krishna as God. In Vaikuntha, now in spiritual world, there are multiple spiritual planets. One is Vaikuntha planet, one is Goloka Vrindavan. In Vaikuntha planet, everybody knows Narayan is God. The opulence of Narayan permeates. Everyone knows he is God. But when it goes to Goloka, the opulence does not permeate, sweetness permeates. Everybody loves Krishna, but nobody considers Krishna as God. Everybody thinks Krishna is like my friend, he is my lover, and he is like my child, and they just love Krishna. He's center of attraction because everyone has unlimited love for Krishna, but they don't know why they love Krishna. They just love Krishna. In material world, to cultivate our desire to go back to Godhead, we need to understand Krishna's position. But once we go back, we are covered by Krishna's potency. It's called Yoga Maya potency. Maya means forgetfulness. So there are two kind of Maya. There is Mahamaya and there is Yoga Maya. Mahamaya makes us forget ourselves as part and parcel of Krishna, makes us identify ourselves as a body, and make gives us the desire to enjoy in this material world. This is Mahamaya. Mahamaya. Maya means forgetfulness. Maya. So Mahamaya makes us run behind material pleasures. The pleasure deriving from opposite sex, the pleasure deriving from fame, the pleasure deriving from wealth, opulence, dhanam, janam, pleasure deriving from having um, um, controlling somebody else's life. So these are pleasure one seeks after when one is influenced by Mahamaya. Because when we are seeking material pleasures, we are not identifying ourselves as servant of Krishna. We are identifying as I am this body and I want to enjoy. And that's Mahamaya. But then when we go back to spiritual world, we are again covered by Maya, but it's called Yoga Maya. Yoga comes from the word yuj. Yoga. Yoga yuj means to connect. So Yoga Maya helps us to connect to Krishna. Yoga Maya makes us forget who Krishna is. Who Krishna is. This is favorable for our devotion, Yoga Maya. Mahamaya is unfavorable. Both makes us forget. In material world, we forget who Krishna is. In spiritual world, also we forget who Krishna is. But here, we forget Krishna to such an extent that we identify ourselves with the body and work opposite to Krishna's service. But in spiritual world, we always want to serve Krishna. Yet we don't understand Krishna's position. Um, um, so Krishna does not like on an advanced stages devotee treating him with opulence. That's why Arjuna never felt Krishna is somebody beyond. That's actually the true nature of how Krishna consciousness works. But Arjuna temporarily was overwhelmed by seeing the universal form of Krishna. And Brahma and all the demigods are offering obeisances, and all of them are entering into the fearful mouth of Krishna. That was too much for him. And he said, please forgive me. I ate with you, I sat with you, I joked with you, I relaxed with you, I dishonored you. Oh, why did I do that? And I asked you to become my chariot driver, and you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Arjuna is begging forgiveness. Someone else would like to volunteer?
Yes, Prabhuji. The relationship between the living entity and Krishna is fixed eternally. It cannot be forgotten.
So we have an eternal relationship with Krishna. We have, it's there. Um, anyways, I'm forgetting the verse. Srila Prabhupada used to give an example, just like um, when a child learns to, when a child is born, he doesn't know how to walk. But the facility to walk is already there within the child. But he doesn't know how to walk. For few months, he can't even walk. Then he tries to walk and he fell down. And he again gets up. He tries to walk, he falls down and cries. Again gets up, take one more step. Mother says, come, come, come close. And he again fell down and he again cries. But slowly, slowly, he starts walking. But walking for a child is not something extraordinary that he has learned. That facility is already there in him, but he has forgotten. So the legs are there and the whole body movement, everything is already supported. Just by little practice, the child can start walking. Likewise, we have a relationship with Krishna. Um, but we have forgotten. When Prabhupada says it cannot be forgotten, means at some point of time it will be revived. It cannot be lost in a way. It's there, but we need little practice. What is that practice? The heart is covered with certain contaminations. The heart is covered, is imbued with a desire to enjoy, independent, desire to enjoy matter. Those desires are there in the heart. That makes us, we cannot approach Krishna until our faith and until our love for Krishna becomes pure. Right now, our affection, right now, basically we are trying to understand Krishna. And if we have realized Krishna to some extent and Krishna's supremacy, still our affection for Krishna is not pure. It is mixed with material desires. Krishna says to Narad Muni in Srimad Bhagavatam that those who have material desires cannot approach me, cannot see me. So that's why there is this path of devotional service, because that helps us to purify. and naturally. So Prabhupada says progress in Krishna consciousness is automatic. You don't have to make any endeavor. You don't have to imagine anything. You just keep on rendering devotional service, especially the chanting of the holy names. You just keep on practicing devotional service. Over a period of time, your heart will start melting towards Krishna and towards a specific relationship with Krishna, a specific relationship with Krishna. And slowly we will start awakening our original relationship. That is there, that is always there, but we have forgotten. But by taking shelter of Krishna, by practicing Krishna consciousness, you won't even realize, you just have to be sincere. You won't even realize over a period of time, you will look back and you will see, I don't have any material desires now. I was so much attracted before to so many things. I wanted to fulfill so many material desires. Now I don't see in my heart. I don't see them. Now same opportunity is there to be attracted to those material desires. And there is even greater and greater chance to fulfill those desires. But now I don't want to do it. So this is the benediction of Krishna consciousness. You just have to experience it for yourself. It takes practice. It takes enthusiasm to progress. It takes determination to practice. And then it takes patience. Little patience. You you start enthusiastically with determination, and then you wait till Krishna's mercy comes. There is nothing else that is required to be done. One time, one very senior devotee, Jagat Guru Prabhu, very senior, he's practicing Krishna consciousness for 40 years. Just by seeing him, the heart fills with divinity. So he was giving a talk, and then I was there in person listening to him. And he said, we all know that he is a highly divine person and he's having a lot of experiences within his heart. So he was giving a talk. Just when he was speaking, we were feeling so much nourished by his talk. Then he asked all of us, do you want to experience what I am experiencing in my heart? Everybody in the room, do you all want to experience what I am experiencing in my heart? And I said, yes, Prabhuji. How do we do that? So everybody nodded their heads. Yes, Prabhuji, how do we do that? And then he said, just chant Hare Krishna. So progress in Krishna consciousness is effective and it's automatic. It takes little patience. It takes little time. Slowly, slowly, initially, my experience, very beginning, is relishable. You really love chanting, you love Krishna consciousness. Then comes a middle phase. A middle phase is a tough phase. When you kind of feel, I don't feel the same like I used to feel in the beginning. um, Chanting has also become difficult and hard. I don't know why. Looks like I have lost Krishna. Things are not going the same. It is becoming a little bit pressure for me. Now there is a test time. Your patience will be tested. Your faith will be tested. Your enthusiasm, your determination, everything will be put to test. And then, just like any other achievement we go through, even material achievement, then we have to persevere. Persevere means we have to let the time pass and don't give up. Persevere. Then some more time passes, and then we experience that joy in Krishna coming back, and it is way more divine than it was in the beginning. In the beginning, I was very joyful, but the next phase that I'm going through now, it is way more divine. And because we start experiencing the divine pleasure in the second phase, it is that divinity in our heart that is arising through the remembrance of Krishna, primarily through his names, that start purifying our heart. And just like the mirror covered by dust, when we see ourselves in a mirror which is covered by dust, we see nothing. We only see dust. Likewise, when we see ourselves, we see nothing. We only see our body. We don't see anything else. We have no idea who am I, who Krishna is Krishna really there? Does all this relationship exist? Is there a spiritual world? So we see nothing. So our faith is primarily based on the faith of scriptures, based on what scripture says and based on other devotees' experience. Okay, thousands of people and hundreds of thousands of people are telling something there. They must not all be fools. Maybe they may have some experiences themselves. Otherwise, one person may be fooled, two-person may be fooled. How can hundreds of thousands of people becoming fools? So there may be something that I must wait, I must strive for. So association of others and faith on scriptures persevere, persevere. And as heart becomes purified, then immediately we develop a special attraction for Krishna. Now, chanting Krishna's name is entirely a different experience. Hearing about Krishna is entirely different experience. Lot of divinity start arising in our heart. The heart starts to become purified, and then we start getting a glimpse of what is my relationship with Krishna. Who, in what way will I serve Krishna in the spiritual world? And then our whatever we have heard slowly start becoming a reality for us. This is all subtle. It all happens within our heart. It just takes little practice and little time and sincerity. Basically, if you never want to drift away from Krishna, if you have little faith at this point of time, and if you want, let me never drift away from this divinity I'm experiencing and this faith I have developed and this understanding I have received from Gita, let me always grow on that. Prabhupada said, you should do ABCD on daily basis. You associate with devotees, A for association. B, you read Prabhupada books. You read Bhagavad Gita, you read Bhagavatam, because as time passes, materialistic desires will keep coming. And when we read Bhagavatam, when we read Gita, then our intelligence will be captured by conditioned mind. Mind is conditioned towards material happiness. Intelligence is also weak. So we are driven away by those desires and thoughts and attachments. And we don't even realize it. It's like it happens unconsciously. Just like when a young boy, a young girl, or vice versa, when they see each other, they are unconsciously drawn or attracted towards each other. Likewise, this material life is such that we are unconsciously, because of our previous conditioning, we are unconsciously attracted towards material world. But when we read Gita and Bhagavatam, then we are immediately reminded, oh, there is a reality beyond. There is something like this which is temporary, and there is something I'm acting on the level of body. Um, th- I'm a spiritual being. I have a relationship and I'm getting bewildered. I'm going away from divinity, from Krishna. So Gita and Bhagavatam, they remind us on daily basis. See, Maya is working on us on daily basis. If we hear and only hear once a week, then rest of the 6 days, Maya will honestly try to capture us. But if we are chanting, but chanting alone is not sufficient. Because even if we are chanting, our mind may be pacified, but our intellect will still be driven towards material desires. So when we reach the Prabhupada books, or when we hear lectures on YouTube, maybe, um, and then on daily basis, then so much dirt is coming by our own conditioned nature, past behaviors, past impressions, past habits. So much dirt is being coming over, and every day we flush it off. We flush it off by daily sadhana. This is called sadhana. Sadhana means daily spiritual practices. That is called sadhana. We all, apart from our activities according to Varna and Ashrama, our duties, we should have our sadhana. And we should check, did I do my sadhana today? And what is sadhana means practice. Practicing devotional service. What is recommended sadhana? You can think, okay, based on how much you are chanting. Say if you are chanting 2 rounds, then before you go to sleep, did I chant 2 rounds? Yes. Tick. Good. Did I read at least 5 minutes Bhagavad Gita? Or maybe Bhagavad Gita because we are discussing Bhagavad Gita. Did I read 5 minutes? Yes. Tick. And then, okay, this is my minimum sadhana. I will give 20 minutes of my day to Krishna. Krishna, see, I have little faith in you, and I want to try you out. That's okay. You can have a deal with Krishna. I want to try you out. There are 24 hours. 23 hours, 40 minutes are for myself. I have many things to do. 20 minutes I will give to your name. Okay. So that will be my sadhana. I will chant for 15 minutes. I will finish 2 rounds and I will read for 5 minutes. 20 minutes I will give to you. So check. And then once you become comfortable with your sadhana, then you can increase your sadhana. Then you can do little more for Krishna. Then you can do little more for Krishna. We have to take baby steps, but we have to start somewhere. And then as you see in a picture in the top, and these are different relationships: Krishna with the cows, Krishna with his friends, Krishna with his parents, and all different relationships are there. And we have a relationship, but we have forgotten it's fixed eternally. um, um, by little practice we will revive that relationship. Once you revive your relationship, your attraction for Krishna and the sweetness you experience will increase multifolds. One time, my spiritual master was sitting with many brahmacharis, and then he said, "You all are greatly fortunate." And those devotees who were sitting there, they were thinking, what is such great fortune in this? We are struggling to chant, we are struggling to progress in Krishna consciousness, and Guru is telling you are so fortunate. And then Guru Maharaj said, "You all don't know what is waiting for all of you. You all have no idea what is waiting for all of you. If you just persevere, if you just develop little faith in Bhagavad Gita, you just develop little faith in Krishna, maybe just to try out to begin with. If you develop little faith, invest faith. We invest faith by practice, not just by hearing or not just by speaking, by practice. We apply. This is called application of Bhagavad Gita in our life. We need to apply it through our sadhana, through devotional service. Every chapter Krishna supports: perform devotional service, 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 perform devotional service. Then at some point of time, it clicks in our mind. Actually, I must also start doing something. I'm hearing things start making sense, but how do I assimilate it in my heart? How do I apply it? Okay, the conclusion of Gita, Krishna is every chapter describing, is devotional service. So let me start doing some sadhana, my personal time with Krishna. Devotees call sadhana as a personal call with Krishna. At this point of time, I have nothing else in my mind. At least I try for that, and this is my time only dedicated to Krishna. While this time, I'm not going to talk on phone, I'm not going to drive, I'm not going to clean the clothes and clean the house, I'm not going to do anything. This is my personal time with Krishna. um, that's the application. And then we come to this understanding the sweetness of Krishna. Grish Prabhu, continue.
You are the Supreme Lord, to be worshipped by every living being. Thus, I fall down to offer you my respectful obeisances and ask your mercy. As a father tolerates the impudence of his son, a friend, the impertinence of a friend, or a husband, the familiarity of his wife. Please tolerate the wrongs I may have done you.
Mhm. You are worshipped by every living being. You are worshipable. You are the Supreme Lord. You are worshipable. But I may have done so many mistakes. Just like a father tolerates the impudence of the son is usually in the beginning very submissive. Whatever father says, son does. But eventually, son develops impudence. And then whatever father, mother says to the son does just the opposite. And it gives lot of pain to the father and mother. But what do? They tolerate it. They think in the beginning, if I bow down, he would bow down. Whatever I say, he will do. Now he is rebelling against me. There's a phase that comes. But the father tolerates. Just like the father tolerates the impudence of the son, the friend, the impertinence of a friend. So initially, the friend are very respectful towards each other and they try to support each other. And then something happens over a period of time and they start neglecting each other. So the other person is not behaving the same way like he was behaving before. So what do? Tolerate? Or the husband, the familiarity of his wife. In the wife, in the beginning, wife may cook very nicely whatever husband likes. She may dress very nicely for the pleasure of the husband. She may keep everything clean for the pleasure of the husband. She may show a lot of respect for the pleasure of the husband. But eventually, she may not care over a period of time and not even not doing all these things. Whatever you say, she may scold you also. Then what does the husband do? The husband tolerates. When wife develops familiarity for the husband tolerates. So just like they all love them, the friend loves the friend, father loves the son, husband loves the wife, but then this situation arises, but they tolerate. Likewise, everything I have done out of you is out of love. You are worshipable, but I treated you in a way opposite to being worshipable. So please tolerate and please be merciful unto me. I ask for your mercy. Please tolerate the wrongs I may have done to you. Again, this is the two verse begging forgiveness. Again, it's a sign of gratitude towards Krishna and accepting the position of Krishna, and it's a gesture to show that. This I will read. Way to offer prayers, glorify the Supreme Lord, take a humble position, and ask for a benediction. So when we go to the temple, how do we take darshan? How do we receive the Lord in our heart? First, we glorify. Like if you come to our temple, we have Radha Gopijana Vallabha. Then we say, My Lord, you are the supreme personality of Godhead. You always take care of your devotees. Um, um, and whatever words naturally come out of appreciation, it may be as simple as you are so beautiful and charming. It can be as simple. Glorify the Supreme Lord. The purpose is when you suppose I see one of you and I say, Prabhuji or Mataji, I'm very pleased by your enthusiasms to study Bhagavad Gita. For all of you, I'm saying, if I say I'm very pleased, then you all will feel happy about it. So when we glorify somebody, there is a happiness that comes from that glorification. So when you go to Krishna, you glorify Krishna. My Lord, you are so beautiful. You are so loving. You are so merciful. And then you say, um, I have done so many wrong things. I became angry. Sometimes I becomes angry at you also. My mind is not in my control. Sometimes I may have so many desires. I may act against you. So one is we should be honest when we come in front of Krishna. Honesty means humble position. Usually, a common man tries to show others that he is a great soul, and he tries to hide his or her flaws. We all have some flaws. We don't have to speak to anyone, because I mean, naturally, we don't want to be judged by anyone. But when we come in front of Krishna, we should be honest, and then um, we beg forgiveness. Just like we saw Arjuna. Arjuna begged forgiveness. First, Arjuna glorified the Supreme Lord. You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I see Brahma is offering obeisances to you. Why he should not offer obeisances to you? So we see this in Arjuna. Arjuna glorified the Supreme Lord. Then Arjuna begged forgiveness. Whatever wrong I have done to you, please forgive me. Just husband tolerates wife, father tolerates the son. Please tolerate me. Everything was done out of love for you. So be honest, open your heart, share your heart, and ask for Lord's mercy. And whatever wrong you have done, beg for forgiveness. Please forgive me. Please help me rectify. Please remove these desires from my heart. And then you can ask for a benediction. Uh, so that's the way we offer prayer. Not like we go in front and then we are like, my Lord, please help me here. Well, that's okay. You can say that, but first do the first two. First glorify the Lord, and then share your become honest and take a humble position. Like if somebody comes in front of you and they say that I am very much dependent on you. Um, I'm sorry for all the wrongs I have done. Then you will naturally feel some affection for that person. If somebody comes and take a humble position, if son comes, if son is very impudent also, if your son comes and say, Father, I'm sorry, then immediately you will hug your child because he's taking a humble position. So when we take a humble position, first, we glorify the Lord. Lord gets a smile on his face. And then we take a humble position. Then Lord hugs us out of his natural affection. And then once we have developed that relationship, then we say, Krishna, please help me. I'm struggling with my material desires. I'm finding it so difficult to chant. I'm not able to find time for read. I don't have any desire for reading and hearing. Whatever, wherever you feel you are lacking, we know what to be done, what not to be done. But we may not be able to do what is to be done for some reason or the other. Whatever is difficult, if we pray to Krishna and beg for his mercy, Krishna can make that happen. Krishna can make that happen. Even if we have no desire, Prabhupada said, you go to Krishna and you say, my Lord, I have no desire to chant your names, to chant, to increase my chanting, to increase my reading. I have no attraction for you. Please, please show me your mercy so that I can be attracted to you. There is nothing more important in my life than to increase my attraction to you. I'm longing for that. Please bestow your mercy. Please help me. Please help me. I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I want to make the future steps. I want to make progress. I'm a fool. I don't know how to make progress. Um, please guide me. Show your mercy, please. So Krishna will show his mercy. Krishna is eager. Krishna is eager when the living entity will turn towards me um, for help. Krishna is eager to help. We just have to approach him with the right mood, and the right mood is humility. Okay, Girish Prabhu, continue.
After seeing this universal form, which I have never seen before, I am gladdened, but at the same time, my mind is disturbed with fear. Therefore, please bestow your grace upon me and reveal again your form as the personality of Godhead. O Lord of Lords, O abode of the universe.
Hmm. So devotees, they are not attracted to universal form of the Lord. Now we have heard the purpose of our hearing universal form about universal form and Krishna exhibiting is just to, for us, practically speaking, for all of us in the room, just to develop faith, Krishna is God. That's all. Just to have that understanding. But we don't long to see this form or to witness this form. Because devotees, when they see this universal form of the Lord, love does not increase in their heart, fear strikes their heart. So devotees don't want to see it's a Arjuna says it's a ghastly form. All the demigods are praying, all peace, all peace, all peace. They are chanting Vedic hymns to pacify you. Everybody is being killed in your mouths. So nobody wants to see that form. So we see that same thing from Arjuna, and he is telling, I'm gladdened. Why I'm gladdened? Because I have realized your supremacy, your superiority. It was not just words. You spoke to me. I I I had faith in your words. But now after seeing you, there is nothing, there is no word like faith. Faith means you are you are assuming in the beginning at least. But here there is no question of faith because now it's sakshatkar. It's a revelation. It's not just faith. So I'm gladdened. And plus, I'm very happy on your mercy on me that I requested you and you fulfilled my request. I requested you, please show me your form with all these opulences, and you gave me divine eyes and you requested. So you reciprocated with me, even though you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, you reciprocated with me. I mean, who am I? And you heard my prayers and you are showing your mercy onto me. So that's a cause of joy. Wow, my Lord, you are really truly so merciful. Billions of living entities, and you still remember me, and you still thought about me, and you still decided to reciprocate with me. You still decided to show your mercy onto me. How inconceivable, my Lord. How inconceivable. So it's a celebration. So Arjuna said, I am gladdened, but at the same time, my mind is disturbed by fear. Why? It's too fearful. I'm gladdened that you showed me your mercy, but can't take it anymore. Therefore, please bestow your grace upon me and reveal again your form as personality of Godhead. Um, let this form be finished at once, please. I'm very happy, realized. Now I don't want to see that form. Prabhupada also say universal form is for neophytes, for them to develop faith in Krishna's supremacy. But one who has faith, he is not so eager in this direction. Rather, without anything, he just starts serving Krishna. Because if you know the greatest, you will naturally have an inclination to serve the greatest. It's just a matter, earlier, we may not have known who is the greatest. We may lack the clarity. We may lack the understanding that is so clearly given in Gita and the Vedic scriptures. But once we realize, then we just aspire to serve. Okay, so we saw Rupa, Arjuna's request. Krishna showed universal form. Sanjay described universal form. Arjuna himself described universal form. Arjuna asked, who have you? Why have you come here? Krishna says, time I am. I have come to destroy everyone except you Pandavas. Just nimitta matram bhavya savisachi. Just get up and fight and become my instrument and win the glory. Everything is already done. When Arjuna saw all these things, he was overwhelmed and he offered prayers. He begged forgiveness, and then he said, let this form be finished. And now the last part, he makes a request. He has a prayer. Okay, Girish Prabhu, let's read this last one.
O universal form, O thousand-armed Lord, I wish to see you in your four-armed form, with helmeted head and with club, wheel, conch, and lotus flower in your hands. I long to see you in that form.
This is Narayan form of Krishna. Arjuna knew that when Krishna appeared, he showed to Vasudeva and Devaki his Narayan form. He heard about it, and he wanted to show to a common man that there is no difference between Krishna and Narayan. And Narayan form is also within Krishna, just like universal form is within Krishna. So Arjuna said, I wish to see that four-handed form. I've heard about it. Um, now I have seen universal form. Can you show me your Narayan form? With the club, wheel, conch, and lotus flower in your hand. I long to see. So this is a request. First, he took a humble position, begged forgiveness, and then glorified the Lord. And then he's telling now one more request, one more desire. Okay, we can have more volunteers.
This verse established without any doubt the statement of Srimad Bhagavatam that Krishna is the original personality of Godhead and all other features originated from him. He is not different from his plenary expansions, and he is a God in any of his innumerable forms.
Hmm. Actually, all that when Krishna descends, all other forms are within Krishna. Krishna can show the Narayan form, Krishna can show the Rama form, Krishna can show all the incarnations of Krishna are within Krishna, they descend with him. So Prabhupada says this establishes without any doubt the statement of Srimad Bhagavatam. We discussed Bhagavatam, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchitananda Vigraha. Ete Chamsa Kala Pumsam Krishnastu Bhagwan Swayam. They are all incarnation or partial incarnation, but Krishna, you are Swayam Bhagwan. Actually, if you ask Lord Ram to show Narayan feature or Krishna feature, or Lord Narayan to show Krishna feature, they cannot show, because only within Krishna all incarnations are present, so he can show any form, any other incarnation, because they are present within Krishna.
Supremacy of Krishna's personal two-handed form, rarity of universal form 47 to 49, four-handed Narayan form 50, glories of personal form.
So this is just a summary of what we are going to see now. How rare is universal form, and then Krishna showed his Narayan form, and then Krishna glorifies, and then Krishna shows his two-handed form, and then Krishna glorifies his two-handed form as superior to all other forms, superior to universal form, Narayan form as a topmost form, and that is what is going to come next. Okay, Mataji, continue.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, my dear Arjuna, happily have I shown you by my internal potency this supreme universal form within the material world. No one before you has ever seen this primal form, unlimited and full of glaring effulgence.
So Krishna is telling, I have happily fulfilled your desire. This is rare. No one has ever seen this universal form. Now we discussed this. They have seen, but not this form that was shown to Arjuna. Okay.
Uh, you have been perturbed and bewildered by seeing these horrible features of mine. Now let it be finished. My devotee, be free again from all disturbances. With a peaceful mind, you can now see the form you desire.
And now Krishna showed the four-handed form, as you see in the picture. So he said, okay, I can see you are very perturbed. Perturbed means disturbed, and you are very bewildered by this horrible feature of mine. Now let it be finished. So immediately universal form disappeared. My devotee, be free again from all disturbances. Even Krishna himself is telling that for a devotee to see universal form causes only disturbances. With a peaceful mind, now you can see the form that you desire. Now and then Krishna exhibited his four-handed Narayan form. Let's read this last one, Mataji.
Sanjaya said to Dhritarashtra, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, having spoken thus to Arjuna, displayed his real four-handed form and last showed his two-armed form, thus encouraging the fearful Arjuna.
So as you see, there is Krishna standing on chariot, and now there is no universal form. But then behind Krishna, there is a four-handed form with lotus, chakra, gada, padma. And then Arjuna saw that, and then no word spoken, only Sanjay describing. After that, four-handed form disappeared, and Krishna appeared in his two-handed form. And Arjuna is offering obeisances to both the forms one by one as they appear. One more devotee can volunteer.
When Arjuna thus saw Krishna in his original form, he said, O Janardana, seeing this human like form so very beautiful, I am now composed in mind and I am restored to my original nature.
So this gave lot of joy to Arjuna, seeing Krishna in his two-handed form. When he saw the Narayan form or he saw the universal form, Krishna does not glorify that form. When Narayan form, he just paid obeisances. Universal form, he became, this is ghastly feature of yours. Uh, it's striking me with fear. So it does not, Arjuna didn't say anything, but he just paid obeisances. But when he saw Krishna just in two-handed form, just like a Nara form, just like a human, um, um, Arjuna said, seeing this human-like form so very beautiful, I am now composed in mind. Arjuna felt very peaceful and composed. And he said, I am restored to my original nature. Okay, continue.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, My dear Arjuna, this form of mine you are now seeing is very difficult to behold. Even the demigods are ever seeking the opportunity to see this form, which is so dear.
Now, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna told Arjuna. Now, Arjuna said, I am so glad to see this two-handed feature of yours. And Krishna's response, this form of mine you are now seeing is very difficult to behold. Even the demigods are looking for an opportunity to see this form. Sounds little difficult to understand because Krishna is present there and he just showed universal form for few minutes or whatever and showed Narayan form for few moments, and then Krishna form was there before and Krishna form is there now. And Krishna is telling even demigods are ever seeking an opportunity to to see this form which is so dear. So Krishna himself is describing the rarity of this form. How rare is this form? Why it is so rare? Because Narayan actually lives within this universe. He lives in Shwetadeep. He's a maintainer. When Dhruv Maharaj is offering prayers, he come on his Garuda chariot and then gave darshan Dhruv Maharaj. When Gajendra was in distress, Narayan came on Garuda and liberated him from the crocodile. Gajendra Moksha pastime. So wherever devotees are calling, this Narayan feature comes and helps. Narayan feature, whenever the demigods have any problems, Brahma and all others, they approach Narayan and they ask for help, and then help comes, either the Narayan form come as Nrsimhadev or in different incarnation Narayan feature come. So they know him, they have an interaction. But never Krishna hardly appears. They have a relationship with Narayan, universal form, but it's very rare to see Krishna's two-handed form because Krishna comes only once in a while. The description is once in a day of Brahma, which is like not going in detail of mathematics, but very rare. So even demigods are very eager, and demigods change in a day of Brahma 14 times. So demigod life is like millions of years. So only some demigods and whoever is taking those positions during that time for few years, they are able to behold this two-handed form of Krishna. But Narayan feature, they are in constant touch. Or everybody who becomes a demigod can have darshan. When Indra performs yagya, Narayan comes from the fire, sacrificial fire. So it's not so astonishing for them to witness that form. But Krishna's form is very rare. So here Krishna himself is telling, this form of mine you are now seeing is very difficult to behold. Even the demigods are ever seeking an opportunity to see this form of mine. Okay, Aruna Mataji, continue.
The form you are seeing with your transcendental eyes cannot be understood simply by studying the Vedas, nor by undergoing serious penances, nor by charity, nor by worship. It is not by these means that one can see me as I am.
So here now just two more verses. So since this chapter was getting prolonged for long, we thought of finishing this chapter today. After this, I think one or two more verses. The form you are seeing with your transcendental eyes cannot be understood simply by. So this form is so rare. And Krishna is telling, even demigods are ever seeking an opportunity. And Krishna says, how can you see this form of mine? And he says, not by studying the Vedas, not by undergoing various penances. And you see in the picture, top right, studying the Vedas. Bottom left, these three sadhus are performing severe penances. Um, Top left, this lady in red sari is giving charity to somebody. And bottom right, some regular worship is going on. So Krishna is telling, I cannot be understood by study of Vedas, by undergoing severe penances, by giving lot of charity, or by regular worship. It is not by these means can I be seen. This is what makes this is what makes to see Krishna's form extremely rare, because none of these things can help us to understand Krishna's divinity. Now, how can we understand Krishna? Not by Vedas, not by worship, not by charity, not by penance. Then the question is, how can we understand Krishna? How can we present in the room understand Krishna? And then Krishna says this. Aruna Mataji.
My dear Arjuna, only by undivided devotional service can I understood as I am standing before you and can thus be seen directly. Only in this way can you enter into the mysteries of my understanding.
Bhaktya. Only by undivided devotional service. So this is the essence of Gita. This is the essence and the conclusion of all the chapters. We saw the ninth chapter. Krishna says, always think of me and become my devotee. We go to sixth chapter. Krishna says, a yogi is higher than Ashtangi, Karmi, Jnani. One who always remember of me within their heart is the best among all the yogi. And for instance, we come to Bhagavad Gita 11:54, 11th chapter. Krishna shows universal form. Universal form is over. He shows Narayan form. Narayan form is over. He shows Krishna's form. And Arjuna says, now I'm feeling very happy. And now I'm feeling very happy. And Krishna says, yeah, this form is most rare because this form is very difficult to understand and see. Not by Vedas, not by charity, not by penance, not by worship can anyone see, understand, or realize this form of mine only by devotion. Only by devotional service can I be understood as I am. Bhaktya mam abhijanati. One can know me only by bhakti, devotional service. This is the sum and substance and the essence of Gita.
I have one clarification here.
Radha.
Namaste, Prabhuji. Actually, as per last preaching class, so reaching God is through by following 5 disciplinary principles. One is directly chanting mantras and attending, being in temples, and third is reading Vedas and associating with good disciples and yeah. And fifth one I vaguely remember. So, so here reading Vedas means here in the previous statement it was mentioned, yeah, simply by studying Vedas. So this is one of the principles, right, Prabhuji?
Okay,
Uh,
thank you. Now,
to be
um,
devotional.
Vedas are big, a very big literature. Samved,
Oh,
Yajurved, Atharved, Rigved. Rigved mainly glorifies Indra and worship of Indra. Rigved.
oh, these does not include Ramayana and Mahabharat and Bhagavad Gita.
Well, Ramayana and Mahabharat, they are written after the Vedas, but written by the same author. These Vedas are four and they propagate demigod worship, karma kanda, and many other things. So this is detailed section, but it's like we see even during Krishna's time, Nanda Babu would worship Indra, and then Krishna stopped Indra worship, and Indra became angry, and Krishna lifted Govardhan hill for that particular purpose. So by studying the Vedas, one cannot understand Krishna. Just by studying, even if we come to Gita, just by studying Gita, we cannot understand Krishna. By studying Gita, we come to the conclusion of how to understand Krishna. And then Krishna says, well, by devotional service, bhaktya, by devotional service. Um, yes, devotional service beginning is hearing. Prabhupada said beginning of devotional service is hearing. Because till we get the knowledge, what do? We cannot do it. To do something which is the right thing, first we have to know what is the right thing. Where is it written? What is the authority? How to do it? So hearing is the starting, and then one has to apply Gita conclusion, which we see here is undivided devotional service. Now, reading of Gita is also devotional service. But now Vedas have three sections. There is Karma Kanda, there is Jnana Kanda, Upasana Kanda. Karma Kanda means you worship Saraswati, you get knowledge. You worship Parvati, you get a beautiful wife or a beautiful husband. You worship this demigod, you get some strength. You worship Surya, you get strength. You worship Indra, you get rain. This is called Karma Kanda. Means my worship is motivated by material desires. So by getting such knowledge and performing such activities, one cannot understand Krishna because there is material desires involved there. But likewise, Jnana Kanda is mental speculation. But then there is Upasana Kanda. Upasana means bhakti. Bhakti principles of Vedas. Bhakti principles of Vedas are written in Shrimad Bhagavatam separately. So understanding the bhakti principles is also devotional service. But so many people read like Yajurved. Yajurved contains about knowledge about music. That is not going to help. Only devotional service. Devotional service means hearing chanting, hearing about Krishna, hearing about devotees of Krishna, hearing about pure devotion. Pure devotion means I want to serve Krishna and I don't want anything in return. I want to serve Krishna because I want to please Krishna. I want to chant because through chanting his names, I want to glorify. These are principles of pure devotion. And by through pure devotion, by pleasing Krishna, when Krishna is pleased, he can reveal to us by his own sweet will. Krishna says in second chapter, don't be bewildered by flowery words of the Vedas, because Vedas can delude us in many, many ways. So Krishna himself says, don't be bewildered by those words. And Krishna says in 15th chapter, we will see it. Krishna says, from all the Vedas, I am to be known. So once we know that the purpose of Vedas is to know Krishna, and we know from Gita that the way to know Krishna is devotional service, and Krishna says, only by undivided devotional service can I be understood as I am. And because people don't usually render devotional service, to understand me becomes very, very rare. So, Arjuna, you take the path of devotional service. So, understanding the goal of Vedas, which is Krishna, then understanding how to attain Krishna, which is devotional service, and then beginning our life to start practicing devotional service. How to render devotional service? 9 ways. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivid. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pad Sevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. Among them, these are 9 ways to render devotional service. Among them, most important is Shravanam, Kirtanam, and Smaranam. So we hear about Krishna, reading Gita, Bhagavatam, this is devotional service. Because just like if I ask somebody, tell me some glories of Radha Mataji, how nice she is. And if you came to know that I want to know more about you, you will feel very happy. So this becomes devotional service. Devotional service is something that pleases Krishna. So when we are trying to hear the glories of Krishna, when Krishna sees in our heart, this person wants to hear about me, he has some attraction for me, this becomes bhakti. Then Krishna gives more mercy. So Shravanam, Kirtanam. Kirtanam includes two things. One is chanting his names, and one is glorifying him with your friends, with your parents. You glorify. Actually, Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead. No, I don't believe. No, actually, Krishna himself says that. Nobody else has said that. Ved Vyas said that. Vyasadeva, Narada, Devala, Asita. He says, from all the Vedas, I am to be known. It's written in scriptures. Nobody else is glorified in such a glorious way. Oh, really? So this is also Kirtana, glorifying Krishna or chanting Krishna's name. Smaranam is remembrance. When we chant Krishna's name, we don't have to force, we just have to hear the mantra. But over a period of time, as we chant, Krishna's form will also come in our mind, will also capture our mind. And then Smaranam will come. May not be immediately, but eventually Smaranam will come. So all the devotional practices, and then we worship. That is, Vandanam is we offer prayers. Just like today we saw how to offer prayers. We go to Krishna and we say, my Lord, please help me, I need your mercy. So this is Vandanam. This is devotional service. How to offer prayers. And then there is Archanam, is worship. We offer food to Krishna. This is Archanam. We offer food, we do Arati. This is Archanam. This is all devotional service. Now we fill our day, whatever time we have. Sometime we may cook food for Krishna, sometime we may offer, sometime we may do Arati, sometime we can go to YouTube and hear the glories of Krishna, sometime we may chant Krishna's name, sometime we may read Bhagavad Gita. So there are so many activities, and we try to somehow engage in devotional service, and we are making progress. We may not even realize this is all devotional service. The combined effect of all this over a period of time, if we do it sincerely, our heart becomes purified, and this is the only way to understand Krishna. Just by giving few $100s to the temple, we'll not understand Krishna. Or just by reading some other sections of Vedas which are not connected to Krishna, we'll not understand Krishna. Or just by going to some temple and saying, my Lord, bachchi ki shadi hai, my daughter's marriage, please find a nice husband. This, and I got a new car and I need a new home. Please give me this and please increase my business. We not understand Krishna. And just by doing austerity, oh, I'm very austere, I can stand in the sun, I can not eat for 3 days. You cannot please Krishna. You can please Krishna when you actually do things what pleases Krishna, which is like glorifying him, chanting his names, remembering him, worshipping him, offering food to him, hearing about him in Gita and Bhagavatam. That's the key of devotional service. But is it okay?
So clear, Prabhuji. So it's so clear, so clear. And in the slide, last slide, the woman, she's praying Shivlinga, I believe. So not Krishna. Probably that is also another reason.
That is, yeah, that is an example of worship. One can worship Shiva, there is nothing wrong, but the mood is Vaishnavaya Natha Shambhu. I also worship Shiva, but the mood is please stick closer to Krishna. The mood of worshipping all, now Shiva is the best devotee of Krishna. So one must never disrespect Krishna just for the sake of picture. But if we worship Shiva for material desires, then it is not going to help us. But if we worship any devata for taking us closer to Krishna, that is perfectly all right.
Okay, thanks, Prabhuji. Thanks.
Prabhuji, I have one more question, a related
Yeah,
question.
Girish Prabhu, yes.
So what's the difference between Vedas, Puranas? You have Purana, Shiv Purana, Vishnu Purana. You have Tattva, right? You have Shiv Tattva, this Tattva concept. And the Katha, Ram Katha or Ramayan Katha or Mahabharat Katha. What's the difference between these notions?
Okay, okay. So Girish Prabhu, Vedas are four: Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samveda, Atharveda. Vedas are like law books. They are very, very difficult to understand. But like principles, very difficult to understand. But when those principles are explained through examples, this devotee did like this, he received the mercy of Krishna, he received the mercy of Shiva, he, he worshipped Lord Shiva like this, Lord Shiva replied to him like this. So what Vyasadeva did is he took each personalities and glorified that personality. He took Lord Shiva and interaction of devotees of Shiva with Shiva and benediction Shiva gave, what he spoke, what devotees spoke. So that became Shiv Purana. And then likewise he took Mata, Durga Devi. And what is the role of Durga Devi, worshippers of Durga Devi, her interactions, how he gave benedictions and boons. And that became Devi Purana. So likewise, Vyasadeva took all the personalities and he glorified them individually. They become Puranas that help us to understand these individual personalities. Um, Mahabharat, now um, Mahabharat and Ramayana, Vyasadeva says, I wrote it for less intelligent people, people who cannot understand Siddhartha, Tattva. Tattva means truth, Tattva means philosophy. People who cannot understand, then for them there is Mahabharat. Now, if you see Mahabharat, Krishna is not glorified as the center. There is politics there, there are Khichak and Draupadi, and there are many other kind of things which are not pure devotional service. But the idea is because they are related to Krishna, because they are devotees of Krishna, anybody who hears, applies Mahabharata in their life, hears, take lessons, will make progress. They are all meant to make progress. At some point of time, if one started reading Bhagavad Purana, which is Shrimad Bhagavatam Purana Amalam, there are all these are Puranas, Shiv Puran, Devi Puran, but what is the highest Puran? Purana Amalam, Bhagavad Puran. It's a Shrimad Bhagavatam Purana Amalam. Why it is Amal Puran? Prema Pumarthaman. It will give you love of God. It will directly give you pure devotional service. That's why we see in our tradition, Brahma Sampradaya, we read Bhagavad Gita, we read Bhagavatam, we read, oh now there are Puranas in mode of ignorance, there are Puranas in mode of passion, Puranas in mode of goodness. And there is a transcendental Purana. There are total 18 Puranas, Prabhuji. 6 ignorance, 6 passion, 5 goodness, 1 transcendental. So if you go in a learned circle, learned Vedic scholars, and if you quote something from Puranas from ignorance, they will say this is a Tamasic Puran. Why are you quoting from Tamasic Puran? So they don't accept their authority because it's a Tamasic Puran. Um, some of these now um, um, we directly approach the Purana in transcendence. See, anything about Vishnu is goodness, like Vishnu Puran, Garuda Puran, they are in goodness. Brahma Puran is in passion. Devi Puran, Shiv Puran is tamasic, and Bhagavad Puran is transcendental. So we directly approach Puran. Bhagavad Puran does not deal with any material desire. Bhagavad Puran means pure devotional service. The final essence of Gita is glorified through many examples. Examples like Vratrasura, Chitraketu, Dhruv Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, all those who attain pure devotional service. From all the scriptures, only pure devotional service is gathered together in Bhagavad Purana. That's why it's called Purana Amalam. So one is directly surfacing on transcendence, and through transcendence and achieve the ultimate goal of life. So reading other Vedas, Krishna says it's not going to help. Does that give some clarity, Girish? Please?
Yes, yes. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. We end. This is the last slide of today's discussion. We have come to the end of this chapter. Krishna is the source of all forms of Vishnu. He is the source of all forms of incarnation, and he is the original supreme personality as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Something from Prabhupada purport. Okay. Anybody else has any question? Or we can end. Okay. So we will end here. All right. Vanchakalpatarubhasya kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavabhyo namo namaha. Anantapati Vaishnavendra ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Next week we will begin with the new chapter, 12th chapter. The name of the chapter is Pure Devotional Service. So very beautiful concepts Krishna describes there. Thank you, Hare Krishna.